Yo, what's going on, guys? Reversal here, and today I'm going to be doing a Swordsoul deck profile for the post ban list. Before I get into it, I just wanted to say a shout out to everyone that's been watching the videos recently. I just hit 100 subscribers, which I didn't think was going to happen like this fast, so thanks for that. If you're interested in Dino's post ban list, I posted a couple of videos about that have been doing well, so check those out if you're into Dinos as well. Yeah, without anything else, I'll just get right into how I think the deck's probably gonna look after the ban list. So yeah, before I was playing the Bisteel package, but I think main deck and Bisteels with after the ban list is probably not going to be the way to play this deck anymore, since they're really bad versus Kashtira. I don't think Tier Limit's going to be like a real deck anymore. I think it'll still see play, but I think it's a lot less consistent. It's a lot more fragile, so that's going against it. So, and then the shufflers are out of the meta for the most part, since they're limited now. And then if Bisteels also relegate to the side or not at all, our 10 lines are a lot safer now too, so that's good. But yeah, just want to say that before going in. So Swordsoul lineup, 3 Moyi, 3 Longwan, 2 Taya, and then the honorary Swordsoul, we got 2 Ecclesia. This is all standard. And then the Ecclesia, I was using it at 3 with the Bisteels, but I think without them, going back to 2, I think this is a preference thing. This card's obviously really good going second, but going first, it can clog with like your other normal summons with these two. So you don't really want to be normal summoning this going first very often unless you have to. But yeah, I think 2 is fine. If you want to build this deck more to like go second, obviously you want to play 3 of this, but I think this is probably still going to want to go first with this. So next for the Tenyi lineup, we're playing 3 Ashuna, 3 Vishuda, 3 Adhara, and 1 Shatana. So before I was running 3, 2, 2, no Shatana. Now we're just maxing out on them, because these cards are really good going into boards, because this deck can really like deal with a lot of the new metas and boards, I think, just with its engine. So that's nice. And Chow Feng is good again, because Nibiru is going to be everywhere. So seeing this Tenyi line to be able to go into Chow Feng before doing your other plays is going to be relevant again. So you really want to just be seeing your Tenyis to go with your Swordsoul cards. So yeah, that's it for the monster lineup. It's 20 of them. It's 40 card deck, by the way. For the spells, triple emergence as usual. Playing 2 Heavenly Dragon Circle. I've always liked this card at 2 whenever I play it. I just feel like 2 just feels good as opposed to 3. And then 2 Desires. I still think you play this card even though going second versus Kashtira, you don't really want to like have this, because like they're banishing cards from your deck already, then you don't want to really banish 10 more, then it triggers their stuff as well, so it's just not good in that matchup, especially going second. So you definitely side this out going second versus Kashtira, but I think it's too good to not play in general, just because like I'm not taking Pot of Greed out of my deck to respect one deck game 1 going second when the deck costs like $1,000. Like I'm not taking up a lot of greed. Can't do it. And then the last spell is Book of Eclipse. I think this is like the best board breaker in the format, probably, because it's the cleanest out to the Kashtira board. It's just, if it resolves versus most decks, it shuts off most of their board, if not all of it. So I think this is like one of the best generic cards you can be using right now. It's really good going second. It has utility going first, even though it's not as good going first, but you still can get some use out of it sometimes. So I think it's a really good card to play. And then the 1 blackout for a trap. So that's it for the spell and traps. And then we have 9 more slots for additional non-engine to go with the Eclipse. And I'm opting to just play hand traps. So for those, we got the 3 Ash, 3 Nib, and 3 Imperm. I feel like this is the best generic 9 hand traps to be playing right now. Just seeing how stuff looks like it's going to shape up. Ash, just always a good generic hand trap to use. I think Branded's probably going to be the quote-unquote best deck, and the deck that probably sees the most play, since it's not as expensive as Kashtira. It's not like, it doesn't auto-lose to as many things as Kashtira, so you want this because Ash on Branded Fusion is still one of the best ways you can hit that deck. And then Nib, it's good against Kashtira if they don't have Ibli post side, and if they don't play the adventure package, which I haven't really seen too many people do. And then against Branded, it can be good depending on if they get to the Mercuria early. Then just a bunch of other like rogue decks. Nib's just always going to be good versus that. And then Imperm, just again, it's generic like Ash. It doesn't play into the tactics cards. It's not bad to draw as a 6th card. Just a solid hand trap overall. So yeah, I like these 9. I feel like it's gonna be like a normal thing to see like these 9 plus some board breakers to round it out. But that could change, obviously, depending on how things shape up. But that's how it's kind of looking right now. Before I get to the extra deck and the side, just want to talk about some like potential changes that could happen as the format starts to shape. Like say like last format, like I said, we were playing the Bystials, cutting down the 10U package a little, not playing Circle. Like say something like that happens again, and like you shave some slots off the main deck. Like maybe Eclipse isn't worth playing at some point. Maybe one of the hand traps has to go to the side. These are some cards I could see slotting into the main at some point. And that's Tactics. I think this card's really good. I just didn't have like space for it right now with how I want to run the deck, since the 10Us are getting maxed out. And I didn't want to take Desires out. So I think that's going to be something I could definitely squeeze in. Then we got the 3rd Ecclesia. Like I said before, this is just a preference thing. So I could see the 3rd copy going into the main at some point, maybe, if some space opens up, just because it's really good going 2nd. And since you play the Shatana now, like, you could technically, like, special that, and then normal this, and then just make a YuGiOh to, like, play around Ash, but that's, like, not a hand that's going to happen very often, since Shatana is just a 1-0, so. But it's something that's worth noting, I guess. Then, like I said before, we were playing the Bystials last format because of tier, and right now it might not be the best thing to throw in, but maybe Branded takes over or something like that, where you might want to have some Bystials in your deck, since they do have synergy with Swordsoul in general, just because Magnemove can search the Destrudo, and that could start your turn with a Yazi to start clearing something, get you a tier engine. And then those cards like are level 6, so plus Ecclesia can make 10s to start your turn sometimes too, without committing to other stuff. So I think we could maybe see a Bystial package come back into the deck at some point. And if it does, I think it would be 3 Magnemove, 1 Druis Worm, 1 Baldrake, and then the 1 Destrudo. So smaller package instead of 7 Bystials and the Destrudo, it's just 5 and then the Destrudo. Because like these cards as hand traps right now are like not as good. They're still like okay, but you don't really want to be taking up 6 slots in your deck when Kashtira is supposed to be this scary deck, and that those cards are not good versus that deck. So we'll see how that shapes up. I kind of hope that these are worth putting in at some point because I liked having these in the deck a lot. And I think just having the 3 searcher to get you just Drudo or one of these is going to be fine. If you do opt to run this package, then Baldrick's can be a pretty cool card too, since it can kind of make your opponent play a little awkward if like you can just threaten to get rid of one of your other lights of darks and pop something they have. So yeah, that's just the stuff that I could maybe see going in at some point, but right now it's not in this version. So for the extra deck, we got the Baron. This card's more important than it has been the last few months. I personally still made this a decent amount, but I know a lot of people are just not making Baron and going for the draw 2 combo. Since Sinister is better versus Tier, so. But I feel like this card is like mandatory now. I don't think this is like I think before you could like play the deck without it, but now I think you have to have this card because of Nib, because of board breakers. Like if you don't set up the Chowfeng line and you don't make Baron, you just get cooked by Nib unless you do Shisha Blackout Pass to play under 5, which isn't very strong. If you don't make this card, you can get destroyed by Eclipse, Dark Hole, anything, Change of Heart, any of those board breakers. Just break your board with 1 card, which I think is the biggest weakness with this deck. The going first boards can be cracked very easily with certain non-engine. I think versus other decks like engine cards, it's perfectly fine, but against like the board breaker non-engine cards that people are probably going to play, I think it's going to be an issue. So yeah, you really want Baron. Like even if you make this card and they bait the negate out, like they can still hit you with a tactics card and then steal this, beat over the Shisha, and your whole board is cracked. So I mean, that's definitely the downside to this deck, and that's a reason I could potentially see it shifting to like a more go second type of deck, since you don't have to worry about that stuff. And this deck can OTK very easily, and it has a lot of space to play hard going second cards, and then its engine in general is just really strong going second. So I could see that being a potential shift for this deck. I'm definitely going to try it out at some point. But yeah, with the rest of this extra deck, we got the Draco Berserker. This card's probably less good since Tier's not around, but it's still a good card. You want to have in the extra deck, of course. It's going to come up a decent amount of time still. Shishao, 2 of them. It's a good card. Sinister and Cheng Yang. Like I said, you probably don't make the Sinister as much anymore because it's very greedy into Nib, which is going to be everywhere. And then Cheng Yang's just a great card. Then we got the Yazi. Double Boxia. MVP right there. And then Chowfeng. Like I said before, if you start with the Tenyi line, you can make this, you made the Boxia, and then get rid of your Monk with this, bring back the Adara, and then make Chowfeng with Boxia and Adara. And then since you use Boxia, it turns off your opponent's light monsters so they can't Nibiru you. And then there's a cool interaction with this, with Blackout, that if you use this with Blackout, you can search yourself like a hand trap, like an Ash Blossom. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, but the maxing out on the Tenyis is a big part because of this card, because I think this card's going to be really important to make before doing your plays whenever you're given the opportunity to, because of Nibiru. Then for the links, we got 2 Monk, Shaman. I've kind of always played with 2 Monk, even no matter how many Tenyis I play. I feel like with the maxed out lineup, you might miss the 3rd sometimes, but I don't know if I could justify playing it though. So this is like the mandatory stuff. There's 13 here. Then I think if you're playing Nibiru, I feel like Lina's mandatory as well. But I mean, you can get away without it, but there's gonna be times where you nib them. You can put the token in attack, and then you could just normal summon anything to make this with your nib on board, and then crash this to search Ecclesia. Then you can just special Ecclesia, start playing. Sometimes you won't have to do that, but there's been times where I haven't had this in my extra deck, and I did nib my opponent, and then I was just stuck because I couldn't get rid of the token because my hand was terrible. So I feel like if you play nib, especially in the main, you want this card. So that leaves us with one slot. Like I said, if you want to play the third monk, you can, but I don't think it's entirely necessary. Dragate's a potential card to play, mainly if you want an extra spell trap negate for Labyrinth. But the YuGiOh, this card I feel like depends how prevalent the Sprite deck is at making Ibly, because if Kashtira makes it, like, you can't play this card in your extra deck because you need to play 2 or you're playing 0. So if they get rid of this and you're only playing 1 and they Ibly you, like, that's a problem. This deck can have a hard time with Ibly. So I think if you can only play 1, it's not worth it if Kashtira is the only deck like mainly doing Ibly. On the last card, Zeus. This is kind of like YuGiOh, but not in the sense of what it does, but more in the sense like versus Kashtira, you need to have 2 of this if you want to resolve it. So since you're playing a lot of steel cards, spoiler for the side, there's gonna be some in there, but I think you could just play 1 of these just so Kashtira will get rid of this every time, and then you don't have to worry about them getting rid of like your Baron or something like that. So like I feel like running 1 of these is still okay. And like say they couldn't get to Mind Hacker for some reason, then you just take 1 of their things, you can still Zeus them. So I feel like this is probably gonna be my 15th slot, if none of these other 14 change. So yeah, that's probably what I'll end up going with, just because unless I could fit a second Zeus, which I don't think is going to be too easy to do unless you cut Lina, which I don't think is probably a good idea. So that's it for the extra deck. For the side, I don't have a definitive 15 card side right now because I feel like this deck especially, just kind of the way it's positioned is just to kind of mold to how the meta shapes up. So I feel like saying like, oh, you should run these X, Y, Z cards, whatever, in the main deck for your tech slots and run this exact 15 side is just like not like a good thing to present, just because we don't know what's going to be the best cards to play. So I like giving options, personally, just so you can kind of get an idea of what you can use in those slots. So for the back row hate, you got Storm and Evenly for the main options. I feel like both these cards are going to be good in different scenarios. Again, if they Ibly you, both these cards can't be used, so that can be an issue. But Evenly, like into the branded deck, seems really good. Into the Kashtira deck, if they don't Ibly you, it seems really good. Both these cards are good into Swordsoul. Like, worst case scenario, like, it just trades with the Baron if they make it, or if they just put the other stuff in attack, it just clears everything. And then clearing back row for branded can be nice as well, I think. So I could see both these cards maybe being inside, or 1 of them. I'm not sure which one. And then for another board breaker, we got Dark Hole. And then we got Enemy Controller. So these are 6 more additional outs to Ibly to go with the Eclipses that are already in the main. And then like just stealing stuff in general I think is good, and then just wiping boards in general is good. So like I said, I don't know if all 6 of these will be played or just 3 of them, but I feel like having outs to Ibly with this deck is going to be important. Since it's pretty much it's just all synchros in the extra deck. It's just the monk and the shaman for links in the lineup. So yeah, that's another cool thing about Lina. Like, if you have to have like an Ecclesia or something, but that's a potential way to out it since Ecclesia is a light. But yeah, I think having Ibli outs is going to be important. And then like these cards are just like, I think they're pretty decent in general. So you could see those slotting in. I feel like in this deck you want to place probably 6 trap cards on the side. So I think V-Bear is going to be the best one. I think Anti-Spell is going to be very good. And then potentially Ravelry, since this deck can play under Ravelry quite well. So, but I feel like these 6 are probably better than Ravelry. But I figured I'd just throw Ravelry in here just to show it as an option. But like I said, we'll have to see where things go. But I feel like having Board Breakers and Floodgates in the side, and then like the Ibli outs is going to be pretty good. So could potentially, like, for 15 it'll probably be something like these 6, and then if you want an extra Ibli out, play the Econs. If not, just play these probably. But like I said, we'll have to see how the format goes and then kind of adjust everything in the main and side from there. But I feel like this pool of cards is going to be like relevant whether they all go in or not. But yeah, that's about it for the deck and the choices that we're gonna have to make at some point. So let me know what you think about it. Let me know how you plan to run the 10 Ys or the tech slots, stuff like that. Drop a like and sub if you want. That's it. Have a nice day. Peace.